Iran, long regarded as a regional energy powerhouse, is now caught in the grip of a debilitating energy crisis. The situation has become so severe that schools, universities, banks, and government offices are operating on reduced hours or closing their doors entirely for days at a time. Streets and highways remain eerily dark, with shopping malls and public spaces left deserted. The culprit is a staggering natural gas shortfall, estimated at 260 to 350 million cubic meters daily, which has crippled the nation's ability to sustain basic services. The crisis is being worsened by one of the coldest winters in decades, as freezing temperatures drive demand for heating to record highs. Nearly all of Iran's power plants depend on natural gas to generate electricity, but the government has been forced to shut down over a dozen of these facilities just to redirect gas supplies to residential heating. While this move has ensured that Iranians aren't freezing in their homes, millions are left without reliable electricity. Entire neighborhoods are plunged into darkness, and many essential services have ground to a halt. Iran's president, faced with mounting public frustration, offered little in the way of practical solutions. Instead, he issued an apology and implored citizens to lower their thermostat settings by 2 degrees Celsius to help conserve gas supplies, a move that has been met with skepticism and resentment from a population already struggling with economic hardship. Years of sanctions, mismanagement, and aging infrastructure have left the nation barely functional. Major factories, including those in heavy industries like steel, have been forced to halt production entirely. Manufacturing output has plunged by an estimated 30% to 50%, and by the time winter ends, the economy is expected to have lost tens of billions of dollars in revenue. The national currency, the rial, is plummeting to record lows, wiping out savings and eroding public confidence in both the government and the private sector. The impact extends to industrial hubs as well. Cities reliant on manufacturing and heavy industries have seen entire factories shuttered, causing widespread unemployment and disrupting supply chains. Steel production, for example, has reportedly fallen between 4% and 50%, depending on the source. This decline not only threatens domestic industries, but also weakens critical sectors like defense, amplifying the nation's vulnerability in an already tense geopolitical climate. Between 2018 and 2023, Iran generated an estimated $253 billion in oil revenues, a significant sum even under the constraints of international sanctions. Yet, instead of using these funds to strengthen its infrastructure or stabilize the economy, the government chose to pursue high-stakes geopolitical ventures. Tens of billions of dollars were funneled into supporting regional allies and proxies, with little tangible benefit to show for these investments. Between $30 billion and $50 billion was spent on propping up the Assad regime in Syria during its civil war. Another $20 billion or more went to fund proxy groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, and various Shia militias in Iraq. While these efforts expanded Iran's influence in the short term, they have now largely backfired. With Syria's political landscape shifting and logistical routes to its proxies increasingly cut off, Iran's regional reach is steadily shrinking. The billions poured into these ventures have effectively evaporated, leaving the country's economy in shambles. Domestically, Iran's infrastructure tells a story of decades of neglect. Despite holding the world's second-largest natural gas reserves, the country struggles to meet its own energy needs due to outdated technology and chronic underinvestment. A stark example lies in the South Pars North Dome gas field, the largest natural gas reserve in the world, shared between Iran and Qatar. On Qatar's side, modern infrastructure and advanced technology ensure efficient extraction and use of gas resources. On Iran's side, however, the lack of investment in basic equipment means billions of cubic meters of gas are wasted annually. Gas flaring, the process of burning off excess natural gas during oil extraction, is a glaring issue. While Qatar captures and utilizes this excess gas, Iran lacks the infrastructure to do the same, instead venting it into the atmosphere. This inefficiency costs Iran an estimated 21 billion cubic meters of natural gas every year. To put that into perspective, this wastage equals approximately 50% of Australia's annual natural gas consumption, or 30% of India's. Such systemic inefficiencies extend far beyond the energy sector. Iran's aging pipelines, power plants, and industrial facilities are barely functional, yet the government continues to prioritize regional conflicts over domestic stability. This approach has left Iran ill-prepared to handle crises like the current energy shortfall, making the nation's position increasingly precarious. Iran's energy subsidies, while making oil and gas affordable, have become an unsustainable burden. In 2022, these subsidies cost the government $163 billion, 27% of GDP. Although vital for citizens struggling with economic hardships, the system drains national resources and leaves little for investment. Attempts to reduce subsidies have sparked significant unrest. In 2019, a sudden 50% fuel price hike triggered protests in over 100 cities. Initially focused on energy costs, these protests evolved into anti-government demonstrations, demanding an end to corruption, Sharia law, and the Islamic Republic itself. The violence left hundreds dead and thousands detained, marking the worst unrest since 1979. This historical memory weighs heavily on the regime today. Reforming subsidies could spark riots, while maintaining them further cripples the economy. Meanwhile, geopolitical tensions add to the strain. In early 2024, Israeli airstrikes damaged two major gas pipelines, forcing Iran to tap emergency reserves to prevent outages. By mid-year, reserves were nearly depleted, leaving the country more vulnerable than ever. The return of Donald Trump has heightened fears of renewed sanctions. During his first term, Trump's maximum pressure campaign devastated Iran's economy. His close ties with Israel further raise the possibility of preemptive strikes on Iran's already fragile energy infrastructure. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has openly called for action against Iran while urging its citizens to rise against the regime. These factors combine to create a perfect storm. The gas deficit, coupled with economic mismanagement and external aggression, leaves Iran teetering on the edge of mass unrest. The government's limited options, cut subsidies or absorb further losses, risk fueling public outrage, reminiscent of the 2019 protests. With tensions rising, Iran's leaders are running out of time to stabilize the nation. In the modern geopolitical landscape, control over critical resources like tungsten is as important as military strength. Tungsten's unique properties, extreme durability and heat resistance, make it indispensable for defense systems, renewable energy technologies, and advanced manufacturing. Jet engines, missiles, and cutting-edge electronic devices all rely on this versatile material. However, global supply chains for tungsten are highly concentrated, with China controlling 84% of production. This monopoly poses a serious vulnerability for countries like the United States, which rely on steady access to such materials for national security and technological advancement. Enter Domain Resources, a North American company that aims to address this strategic gap. The company is working to reopen a tungsten mine in Idaho, positioning itself as a key player in reducing the US's reliance on foreign suppliers. This effort aligns perfectly with broader initiatives to onshore critical industries and enhance self-reliance, particularly under the renewed America First agenda. By developing domestic sources of tungsten, Domain Resources is not only supporting national security, but also contributing to the resilience of US industries. The stakes are high. With global tungsten demand rising and supplies tightening, prices are expected to surge. For investors, this represents a unique opportunity to participate in a project that addresses both economic and strategic priorities. Beyond the financial incentives, supporting initiatives like this one helps to bolster America's position in an increasingly resource-driven world. Domain Resources is led by an experienced team with a proven track record in resource exploration and development. Their efforts to bring critical mineral production back to the US reflect a broader trend towards securing supply chains and reducing dependency on geopolitically volatile regions. For more information on their projects and investment opportunities, visit their website. Iran's energy crisis is a stark reminder of how fragile even the most resource-rich nations can become when plagued by poor governance and external pressures. As the situation unfolds, it's a critical moment for both the Iranian people and the global community to consider the broader implications of resource security and stability. Thanks for watching this analysis by us at NLOM. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth geopolitical insights.